Hey everybody, if you want to learn how to record real drums but don't know where to start, check out my free guide, Acoustic Drums for Metal. You can get your copy today at spectremedia.ca. Hey everybody, welcome to SMG Viewers Comments, episode 117. Just a quick reminder, I'm going to be at the AAS show hanging out next week in New York City, so if you're around, look me up. Anyway, let's get right to it.
I'm so excited! Only $225 for a Chinese selection and some Chinese pressboard. Wow!
Oh, yes, you type in, you're so impressed with Chinese-made speakers and wood on your Chinese-made phone while sitting on your Chinese-made office chair with all your Chinese-made fucking accessories throughout your house. Look, shit's made in China these days. It doesn't matter where it's come from. The question is, does it work and does it sound good? If it checks off those two boxes, that should be all you care about. For what it's worth, I thought it was excellent, especially for the price. It is a real vintage 30 in that cabinet. You can check the link for that in the description below. It is just simply awesome for the price. It is outstanding for a beginner.
Hey Glenn, could you share your experience mixing a snare that's cranked beyond this world? I love having my snare tight as hell, but would like to know your opinion when it comes to mixing a snare with such high tone.
Well, there's tight and then there's crank beyond, reason. And when you go crank beyond reason, you really just choke off the drum and you get a very muffled, piffy kind of sound. So I really don't recommend it. I like a snare tuned to, in the sane levels. You can go high, just don't go beyond stupid. And the best way to gauge where you're at is grab yourself a drum dial. They're simply outstanding.
I love this guy. Let's all get banned by Mesa so none of their customers see their posts.
Yeah, I thought that banning from their Instagram was just a little bit unfair because all I did was say, hey, wow, it's amazing how much you guys are banning people. So I haven't seen what's going on their Instagram since. So my suggestion is better watch your P's and Q's on their Instagram or they'll ban you too. And you know what? That's absolutely fine because my friends over at Rev would probably love to have you guys over at their Instagram.
What do you say about sludge and stoner metal? The recording process is so different. The drums are tuned to ring a lot. There's a lot more mud going on. Do you like the sound of Boris, Sleep, The Sword, and the like?
I love a lot of stoner rock bands. Actually, one of my all-time favorite groups is Caius. Blues for the Red Sun is in my top 5 records ever. I can just put that record on, just crank it to 1,000,000 and just let it rip. And it's just fucking awesome. The recording process, yeah, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit looser. It's not so rigid. I don't know how much you really want to put that stuff to a metronome, and you definitely don't want to be time aligning. There's definitely a vibe going on in that music. You asked about The Sword. Actually, Age of Winters is one of my favorite sounding modern records. That's just a killer sounding record. There's real performance there. Absolutely love that stuff. And it's super enjoyable to listen to. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that whole genre. I would really love to do some stoner bands in here. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Glenn, serious question. How do I release an album with my band?
These days, you've got DistroKid. Now, this is going to sound like a DistroKid ad, but truthfully, it's not. It's just a great way to get your music online and out there. Just lets you completely circumvent the whole physical retail chain. Put your record out on DistroKid, do a killer music video, put it up on YouTube, and if it's any good, believe me, people will pay attention. Good luck to you, man.
Awesome video. Could you list over all the things you can do to make recording easy to the sound engineer? I know you've been over the topic many times with things like get your instrument fixed, intonated, make sure the gear you bring with to record works. Of course, if it's a Line 6 Spider, don't bother. And last but not least, practice.
I did those videos a couple of years ago. It was called How to Get Your Band Ready for the Studio, Part 1 and Part 2. I list off exactly what you're asking for. It's about 400,000 hits on each of those. I highly recommend you check them out.
Hi Glenn, if you have a temporary housing situation, college dorm, your apartment, etc., where you can't make any permanent changes, what would be the best option for monitoring? Temporary acoustic treatment you can remove and take with you if you move. Good monitors with acoustic treatment, headphones, and running back to your car, etc.
I had that exact situation actually when I first moved to this location. I was working out of a bedroom in my house before we moved the studio in here. And what I actually did was I took a couple of mic stands and used them just to kind of hold up acoustic treatment in various strategic places throughout the room. But one of the coolest things I did, and this is just a great hack for anybody in a bedroom situation, is I oriented my desk so my speakers were aiming at the closet behind me. And what I did was I opened up the closet doors and spaced all the shirts I had hanging with a little air gap in between each. And you know what? That room sounded fucking amazing. I had such clarity in the bottom end, and it was because of those shirts with that little air gap in between each of them, just all spaced out evenly. And that whole closet just acted as this gigantic bass trap. And honestly, it just sounded phenomenal. So if you've got a bedroom, yeah, think about where you're putting your desk and aim it at a closet and space your shirts out.
Hey man, I got curious and listened to some of the shit you produced. Protocol, Bias, and even Slayer drums sounded like something taken to a Guitar Pro MIDI file after that. You pretty much ruined music for me. Fuck you, Glenn. P.S. Keep up the good work, and thanks for sharing your experience with the rest of the world for free.
I wouldn't say I'd ruin Slayer. Go put on Seasons in the Abyss. The drums on that record are just magnificent. That's kind of sound I grew up with. That's kind of sound I admired growing up, so I've been trying to imitate that as opposed to the phony-ass crap masquerading as metal these days.
You say the Vintage 30 is the first choice when it comes to recording metal, but what if you want to record old school late 70s, early 80s heavy metal, like in the style of Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Metallica? The Vintage 30 wasn't released until 1986 or 1987, so those bands didn't use them back then. Wouldn't a Greenback or a G1265 be a better choice?
Actually, the Greenback is a fantastic choice for metal. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, if you can't get Vintage 30s, get Greenbacks. They're phenomenal sounding speakers. Even for somewhat modern heavy stuff, you go put on Machine Head Burn My Eyes. The guitar tone on that record is just sick. And that's a 5150 into a Greenback, and just sounds magnificent. So yeah, big thumbs up for the Celestion Greenback. You definitely cannot go wrong.
Definitely not better than Jack's entry.
First time for everything.
Weird question, but if someone was to pay you, say, $1,000, would you allow them to stand in your studio for a week or two and watch what you do and answer questions the person may have?
Well, I don't know about a week or two, but I am throwing around the idea of doing maybe a 4 or 5 day masterclass up in Toronto at a studio where, we bring in a band and we record them. We go through the whole process, kind of like advanced metal production, that kind of thing with, using real instruments and, no auto-tune, that kind of crap. Could be a lot of fun. Like I said, it's just in the planning stages right now, but when that starts to materialize, I will definitely let you guys know. Thanks for asking, though.
Hi, Glenn. What's your approach to gang vocal recording? Saw you doing some with Protocol, but wanted to see your advice to gang vocals. Love the videos.
Okay, it really depends on how many people you have in the gang. Generally, I just don't have enough headphones to do gang vocals cleanly. So what I'll actually do is I'll open up the window between the control room and the performance room, throw a mic up in there and have, a whole bunch of people stand around and just crank the monitors in here, and that kind of gets the timing right. Seems to work pretty well, to be honest with you. You just cut the noise out in between. And seems to do the trick. I think back on the second Assassinite, the following record, we did like massive gang vocals. We had like 40 guys here or something ridiculous like that. And we did it like 3 or 4 shifts. We bring like 10 guys in, they do theirs, another 10 guys do theirs, and it wound up sounding fantastic. That was an awful lot of fun to do that session, to be honest with you.
Hey Glenn, what's the difference between using one of these and plugging my amp's preamp out send straight into my interface?
Well, if you're using a tube amp, you still need a load across the output. The tubes need to see a speaker there, or you can just overload it and wind up blowing your amp. The 2 Notes Torpedo Captor emulates a speaker. It's what's called a reactive load box, and that way your amplifier works as if it's plugged into a real speaker. So definitely worth getting your hands on one of those.
See, all we need for world peace is more unity over things like rock and roll, beers, and bacon, and less division over stupid stuff like who's got a cooler imaginary friend.
Wiser words were never spoken. Salute to you, sir. Well done. All right, everybody, that's it for this show. Thank you so much for your support. Make sure to check out my SMG shop for cool stuff like shirts and mugs and hats. And don't forget, I'll be at the AES show in New York City next week. Hope to see you there. Take it easy. I'm out of here.